All right, here we go. Okay, let's do it. All right. Happy whatever today is, December 5th. Woohoo! Here we are. So session 4, our plan for today. The IRS foreign student test, sort of foreign student test. All right. So in actuality, what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk a little bit about Moodle tax returns. We're gonna go through a topic review if anybody has any requests on that. Then we're going to talk about our updated plan because we are still waiting for the awesomeness of the new Lincoln Learn system. We will continue to wait for a bit longer. So what we have tonight is we have paper copies of tests that we can use for everybody that is out in Zoom land. The copies of those are out in the training materials on the Moodle, so you can access the exact same material that we're using here today. We're going to do standards of conduct, intake interview, quality review, and then foreign student. We're not going to switch to resident tax tonight, so we're going to just go until people are done with doing the tax return test or not, however you want to do it. We are going to do resident test tomorrow. So if you are able to join us, that would be fantastic. It's going to be basically the same thing, except you don't have to do standards of conduct, intake interview, and quality review again, just the resident advanced test. I asked all of our Minnesota volunteers if they wanted to meet in person or meet remotely for tomorrow. And some of them responded, and the preponderance of response was remote by far. It was like 80% remote. So we are going to just do tomorrow remote. If anybody here at the U of M wants to come to this room and meet, you guys are welcome to do that. I'm not going to be here. We'll be on Zoom, but you guys are welcome to bring your computers and do it if you're conveniently located. Okay. All right. So let's talk about feedback from people doing the tax return forms. All right, so one of the key things, and this is why I gave you the examples that we had, was the whole idea of trying to determine how much income is taxable and how much income is treaty exempt. In a perfect world, all of the documents for our student clients would match, everything would be easy, we would never have to make adjustments. Unfortunately, a very large number of our clients don't live in that world, and their income documents are in some way different than what their treaty benefits are. So when you have somebody like this, the best thing to do, the process to follow, my suggestion, sum up their total income by income type, right? So we're not going to add just all types of income. We're going to say, okay, how much wages do they have? How much scholarships? How much dividends, capital gains, any other types of income? Determine, do they have a treaty benefit? If so, how much is that? And then you would subtract it to find that, take the total income minus the treaty benefit to find out what their taxable income of that particular type is. The treaty exemption is going to be reported on Schedule OI, and then the taxable income is going to go somewhere on the 1040. It's either going to go on the 1040 NR on the front, like for wages, or it might go on Schedule 1 if it's a scholarship. It might go on Schedule NEC if it's dividends or capital gains. But either way, it's going to go somewhere. The taxable amount is going to go somewhere on that tax return form. All right, so as you work through the scenarios, think about doing it this way to try to help clarify in your mind what amounts get reported on different documents, and then how do you report them on the tax forms. Other fun stuff, which is definitely much more minor. So bank interest is not taxable for non-resident aliens. Remember, we say, oh, everything is taxable, report all income, except bank interest. It's not taxable, never mind, we were just lying about that. But it's not taxable, it doesn't go anywhere on the forms. Qualified scholarships are the same way. So if somebody has a tuition waiver scholarship, right? So it covers part of their tuition, not even all of it. They never get any money, it goes straight onto their student account. That's a qualified scholarship. They don't get any documentation. They don't have to file a tax return to report it. When you do fill out the forms, round to whole dollars, 49 cents or less goes down, 50 cents or more goes up. The tax software will do that for you, but when you start doing it here, it'll just make life easier if you do that rounding. And then when you look at the forms, so if everybody has one of the packets of the forms, in the upper right corner, there is an attachment sequence. I think the 1040 main form doesn't have it, but if you get into Schedule OI, Schedule 1, all of those, they have like the order that you're supposed to put them together if you were to mail them into the IRS. Everybody find that if you're looking at it here? Upper right corner on the forms. Find your Schedule A, itemized deductions. It'll be there. Very upper right corner. If you can't find it, raise your hand. I'll come help you find it. And then one last little thing, a 0 is the same thing as a blank. So if you have a 0 value, you can just leave it blank. You put the 0 there, it doesn't hurt, but you can also just leave it blank. It's kind of how they prefer it. That way there's no question of, is it possibly an 8? Nope, it's blank, it's a 0. All right. And those last 3 things are all very, very, very minor details, okay? All right. One slide that was missing from last week's presentation. Who is required to file a tax return? Who is required? So remember I said about bank interest and scholarships? Those are not taxable income to non-resident alien. But if you have any income that is taxable, treaty exempt or otherwise, you do need to file a tax return, and it's any amount. There's no like $5, $2,500, $4,000 limit. It's all, you have any, you got to file a tax return. It doesn't matter if it's partially or totally exempt from tax under a treaty. It doesn't matter if you don't get a refund. It doesn't matter if you owe no tax. You still have to file the return. That's going to apply in the state returns as well when we get to that point. And then finally, I think I mentioned this one time in passing, but just as a quick reminder, so if you earn income that's in violation of your immigration or other laws, you still need to report it and pay your income taxes on it. That is the government's favorite way to get tax scofflaw people, is to go after them for tax evasion, not for conspiracy or what other racketeering charges they may have. All right. Any questions on those? Great. We had 2 questions from last week. The first one was about a non-resident alien injured spouse. So an injured spouse basically occurs when a married couple files a joint return. One of the couple owes money either to the IRS or in child support or some other federal or state tax obligation. The IRS takes the refund to pay that debt. And the spouse, the other spouse, says, hey, wait a minute, that was my husband or my wife's responsibility. That wasn't my fault. I should still get my part of the refund. That is not going to apply to us as non-resident alien tax return preparers because we can never file a joint return. So if you're filing a joint return, you're filing as residents. So if you're working on the advanced test, then maybe that could apply to you, but otherwise it's not going to. All right. And then the next one was about child and dependent care credit for single individuals who are students and not working or looking for work. So in the 4011, in the back, the section on credits, it talks about how if you are a student, you have to be working or looking for work. You can't just be taking classes or studying to be eligible for this credit. But if you're a resident and you're married, it looks like you can, if you file a joint return, you can get some credit for at least one of the spouses who is a student. Based on some initial, I would not say it's like what I would want to stand up in front of a tax court about, but some initial research, I don't see like anything obvious that says we should override the 4011's statements about this. So it's probably going to be incredibly rare for us to have anybody that would qualify for this, because that would have to be they're paying for their child so that they can work or look for work, not for them to be a student. Possible, but not likely. All right, so with that, are there any topics that anybody wants a review on? Any questions? All right, if you do, you can just raise your hand if you're here in person and come talk to me. For everybody that's in Zoom land, we'll set up a breakout room. And so we can go in there. I won't talk to you, but I'll type to you and you can ask whatever questions you have. All right. So, yeah.
It's got the tax return practice, one of the scenarios.
Is it like a general question or is it about your return?
General.
Okay.
So if we add the taxable income to 1A, should it include the exempt, treaty exempt part also, or that goes to 1K and we minus it from the wages and then go to 1K?
Yeah. Yeah, so the question is about what you put onto line 1A of the 1040 NR and 1K. So 1A is, for example, wages, taxable wages, and then 1K is treaty exempt income. So you will not combine treaty exempt income and taxable income on line 1A. Line 1A is always going to only be the taxable portion of the wages that the individual has earned. And then line 1K is going to be treaty exempt income. And that could be of different types. It could be scholarships, it could be wages. Those are the two types that we're going to see. But it's not going to be anything taxable in 1K. So basically it gets split out before. Okay. All right. This is too high. It's very good for leaning. It's not very good for seeing. There we go. All right. Any other questions? Okay, let's talk about our plan. All right, so silly Lincoln Learn, I tell you, it better be really awesome after all of this trouble. Okay, so the IRS requires that all volunteers use their online Lincoln Learn system to take their tests and to sign their volunteer agreements. All right, so what we're doing tonight, it is not official, right? I would say it's a working session, it's practice. I cannot grade the tests. I will not give you answers, right? Because that's not what we're going to do here. But I can help you figure out resource sources, right? So if you say, oh my gosh, I can't figure out, whether somebody from India can claim the standard deduction, or what about, was it Bangladesh or was it India? I can say, hey, well, have you looked in your 4011? Because I'm pretty sure it's got a whole page just about that stuff. That's an example. There'll be more. All right. Theoretically, Lincoln Learn will go live on December 11th at 10 p.m., which is like a week from now. Myself and a few experienced volunteers, we will take the test to confirm it's working once we hear that it's up. Assuming that everything goes smoothly there, I'll send out a Moodle announcement that the system is live. If there's any feedback about bad questions, we will share it with you at that point. The idea is that whatever you do today, right, you have a copy, you're going to go through, you're going to mark your answers. All you need to do is just transfer that information to the online system, right? The questions should all be the same. It should be in the same order. I say should because we haven't seen it yet to confirm that it is, but that would be the expectation. So the work you do today, it's going to take, an hour, hour and a half, whatever. But that's going to let you get through the online system in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, however fast you can click and read. Okay. All right. Like that. All right. Then, so as a reminder for best practices for the tests. So the test is open book. It is open note. There is no time limit, right? So if you don't get done today, that's not a problem. If you want to work on the practice scenarios and do the return later, totally fine too. It is not open friend, so please do not cooperate with others on this tax return test. If you have questions after today, you're welcome to send me an email or send me a message in Moodle. Again, I won't give you the answers, but I will help you find where to get those answers, just like I would do in a real tax clinic. At the end of the test, theoretically, or at least that's how it used to work, right, is that you had a chance to review all of your questions and all of your answers. Make a copy of that before you submit it. That way you know exactly how you answered everything and what those questions were. Just in case they change the question, just in case they don't tell you what you answered before, they just say that you were wrong. That way you know exactly what you did. If you don't pass the first time, and there's always people that don't pass the first time, do not stress about that. Review the topics that you have any questions about. Send me an email. I'm happy to talk about them with you. We recommend that you try to take it again pretty soon, like the next day, just because everything will be very fresh in your mind. And I do want to remind you all that you only get 2 chances to pass. So it's very important that you do pass that second time. We still do have a few people that don't pass. There still are volunteer opportunities. So if you don't make it through the test, you are still able to help the organization. Just let me know and we can talk about what those are. So, because you can still provide some really valuable support for the organization and for the clients. All right, just a couple of, I guess, hints, right? So sometimes there might be multiple answers that seem right. So think about like which one is the most right. This is particularly good for like the ethics test, standards of conduct, right? What is the most right thing that you could do? Sometimes the answer to one question can help you figure out the answer to another question. Kind of strange how that works. Sometimes they say, oh, well, what about this, blah, blah, blah. And they say, well, if you do this, how would you do this? And you say, but wait a minute, based on that, I have to do this. So hopefully that will spark some ideas when you go through the return or the test questions. And then sometimes the questions are really bad. A lot of times the questions are really badly worded. For example, a lot of the questions say, can he file? And then the answer is true and false, but that's not really a true and false question. It's a yes or no question. So if you see something like that, just change it to, he can file, true or false. Okay. If you have questions about the questions, please feel free to ask. I will tell you everything that I can. There are a couple of bad questions. There is one question that has a typo. So it says 2022 instead of 2023. I fixed that. There were a few other questions in the other tests, the standards of conduct or the intake interview questions, where they've already published in a fix that's already copied into the forms that you're seeing as well. There are 2 questions on the foreign student test that we have issues with. We've told our partners at the IRS about them. Hopefully they'll get them fixed by the time Link and Learn goes live. Hopefully we'll at least have feedback from them, even if they aren't. Since we will be taking the test, a few of us will take the test before you. We'll let you know when we publicize, hey, it's open, go for it. We'll let you know if there are some test questions that are still bad at a problem, and we'll give you the most guidance that we can to help you answer correctly. So, but for now, the questions are not, they're just like on really fine points of the law. So it's not a big problem. Just answer the questions as best you can, and we'll get those updated for you as needed. All right. After you finish the test, after you pass the test, you are going to need to electronically sign and send us your volunteer agreement. Once we get into the system, we'll take some screenshots so we can send you the instructions about how this works. You're also going to need to provide a government-issued photo ID for us. This could be a driver's license or ID card or a passport. All of those things work. The name on your volunteer paperwork must match the name on your photo ID. So no nickname. So when you create your Link and Learn account, then make sure that whatever ID you're going to use to show me, just look at that when you create your account so that it is exactly the same. We've got a few options for getting a copy of that photo ID to me so I can verify it. You can upload it to the Moodle course if you want to do that. You can send it over email if you want to do that. We will delete it afterwards. We don't want them. Or you can just send me an email and we'll do a Zoom and get together and you can just show me on the screen and then I see it and then that's all there is to it. I just verify and sign that I saw it. Any questions about that? All right. Once we have your form and verify your ID, we will send you invitations to our training sessions in the spring semester. It'll be the same type of a format as we've used this spring or this fall, pardon me. We'll also add you to the clinic sign-up sheets or list. So our clinic and office hour schedule will be posted once Link and Learn goes live. So as soon as you sign up and pass the test, then you can start signing up for your clinics. Generally, we have a minimum of 4 volunteers at our clinics, up to a maximum of 20, depending on the format. We've definitely started to hit the limit on the number of clinics that we can hold So we are working on increasing the size of them, particularly for the in-person clinics. And then we do also have a Duluth clinic, but we have some transportation limitations to get up there, so we don't have as many options for people there. Again, we'll open that once Lincoln Learn opens up. We ask if you can to do 8 volunteer events. That would be our goal for everybody. Your schedule for volunteering is under your control, right? So whatever days work best for you, if you want to do all Tuesdays, if you want to do all remote, if you want to do all A term and be done so you don't have to do anything in the B term, whatever you like, doesn't matter to me. We start off with a lot of clinics listed, and if we need to reduce a few of those based on how many people show up, we'll cull that list as we go. And there's always the chance that we might switch formats. Generally, if we have a very low number of volunteers, we might look at taking an in-person clinic to remote. That would be the only real format that we would switch. The one last thing I'm going to ask is a request, right? So we schedule clients based on your signing up for the tax clinics. So every time you sign up, that's 10 people that get to sign up for a tax clinic appointment. So if you don't show or if you cancel, that also means that we either have to turn away 10 people that night, or everybody else that's working has to stay longer to help all of those people. So please recognize that it's a commitment to the organization. It's a commitment to all of the people that we're going to help. We don't want you to show up if you're sick. We always plan for like somebody to not be there. But please do try to make it. If you commit to doing it, please be there. All right, this is what it'll look like when you schedule. Choose what type of clinic you want to do it, and then choose the dates, off you go. All right, this is our spring training schedule, so we'll still do the same. Non-resident first, resident in the second half. We'll do federal review, we'll do state night, we'll do special circumstances, and then we'll do advanced scenarios, final tax clinic prep. So it'll be really fun. And then tax clinic should start somewhere around February 20th, which is not that far away. All right. And with that, that is all of the presentation that I have for you guys tonight. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Well, if I don't talk with you again, good luck with finals. Have a fabulous winter break. I'm going to stop the recording here. At least I'm going to try to. There we go. All right.